Hello and welcome to the 6.3 worksheet help. I will go through and do some of these problems. Start with number 3 here. 3 and 4, find the length of A to B. Well, because the lines are parallel, that means that this piece and this piece have the same relationship as 3 and 4. So we can say, we'll call it X. X is to 12 as 3 is to 4. You can cross multiply and divide and get X equals 9. Or, of course, there's always a backdoor to these problems. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. You get 9 either way you go. Number 5, determine whether the lines are parallel. Well, it works both ways. Parallel implies proportions. Proportions imply parallel. So the question is, are these proportional? Is 8 over 12 the same as 5 over 7.5? So we can, because they're decimals, I'm just going to do a quick little cross multiplication and see if it works. 5 times 12, 8 times 7.5. It all works out. So therefore, we can claim parallel. How about we spell it right? Parallel. Okay? If these make a proportion, then these are also parallel. We'll see. You do that one. Next one. Parallel. Because parallel, we have proportions. Now, I've got these nice erasable pens that are different colored, so they're going to help us. So this says BD is to BF. Right, now that's the whole length. It's the whole length, B to F. BD is to BF as blank is to CG. Now CG is the whole length. So you gotta be consistent. We're gonna say blue is to red as blue is to red, so that'd be EC or CE, doesn't matter. CE, EC, same thing. All right, as long as you are consistent on how you match those up. All right, you try 14, 15, and 16, see what you end up getting. Okay, next, it says, find the length of the indicated segment. Now in this picture, these are right angles, which does imply that these are parallel. So these are parallel, and now because we have parallel, we have proportional. So therefore, we can say 20 is to 15 as 8 is to, I don't know if I want to call it X. Let's call it A. Let's call that piece there A. So 20 is to 15 as 8 is to A. All right, work that out. Cross multiply and divide. 15 times 8. Divided by 20, it's 6. You do 18. Number 30, this one is always one of the most missed, and you have to be careful how you set up the proportions for this. I'll do the first one. 2, now these are parallel, so parallel means you can do parts. You gotta be careful. We're saying the entire length of this side is to X, we'll say. Here we go. How about that? As the entire length of this side is to do the entire length, 7. So a lot of people will get that wrong because they would put 5 there. We did whole length to whole length. You have to do whole length to whole length. There's this triangle right here. The whole length of that side is 7. And you can do the similar thing with 3 and Y. Don't do 3 into Y. You have to use the entire length of 10 to set up your proportion and solve. You can solve from there. by yourself. All right, next. Bringing some algebra into it. It says, let's see here. Make the lines parallel. If these lines are going to be parallel, then these have to be proportional. So we can set up, we can say 2x plus 4 is to 5. There's an example. And you could do is to this. You just got to be consistent. Equals 3x plus 5 to 7. The reason I can do that is because I'm doing part to part equals part to part. I'm assuming the lines are parallel, so it's going to work out. Now, cross multiply. 5 times 3x. 5 times 5. 7 times 2x. 7 times 4. Figure it out from there. Subtract 15 minus 14x is just x. 25 minus 28 is 3. Looks like x is equal to 3. Set up some proportions. Assume that the lines are parallel, and then figure out a proportion that guarantees the lines are parallel. All right. This is a review. We're going to get into right triangles next class. Wanted to make sure that you knew. In a right triangle, you've got 2 legs. The legs make the right angle. So that makes that a leg. That makes that a leg. And it makes this the hypotenuse. All right. And let us remember how to solve questions like this. You have to square root both sides. You got to square root and you got to square root. Now, this square and the square root cancel each other out. So you're just left with x. You got to do the square root of 121. Now that is a nice number. Square root of 121 is 11. Find the square root button on your calculator. Actually, it's 11. All right, same thing here. We are first going to subtract the 16, and x squared equals 9. X equals 3. It's actually plus or minus 3, but we don't really do minus in there. And this one's actually plus or minus 11. 3 times 3 is 9, and negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. So there's actually 2 answers to that. All right, next one. We will subtract the 36. What's 85 minus 36? It would be 49. And so x is the square root of 49. Square root both sides. And technically it's plus or minus 7. 7 times 7 equals 49, and negative 7 times negative 7 equals 49. All right, on to the word problems. I'll do half of them. Try the other half on your own. According to an article by ABC News in 2019, a typical teen spends roughly 7 hours of their day on a screen. Suppose this teen lives for another 75 years. How many of those years would be spent on a screen? All right, so we get 7 hours for 1 day. Now, I want to know in 75 years. That's not day. I need to convert it to day. How many days is 75 years? 75 times 365, right? 365 days in the year, plus leap year, whatever. Technically it's 365.25. Let's just use 365. 27375. We'll get the point across. 27375 days. And then our answer will be in hours. So we have 7 hours for 1 day. How many hours for that many days? Let's see here. So we'll cross multiply. And divide by 1, I guess. You get that. That's how many hours. So 191625 hours. Interesting. How many of those years will be spent on a screen? That's how many. So if you continue at this rate, at 7 hours a day, this is how many hours you will spend in your next 75 years. Now, how does that compute here? Okay, so 191625, that's how many hours. So divide that by 24 hours in a day. That's how many days. Now divide that by 365. You got 21 of those years, let's call it 22. 22 years of your life will be spent, of the next 75 years. 22 years of the next 75 years of your life will be spent on a typical teen in front of a screen. Isn't that crazy? That's just crazy. Just find that just crazy. All right, number 3. The cookie recipe calls for 3 eggs to make 4 dozen cookies. A dozen is 12. So 4 dozen would be 4 times 12. That's 48 cookies. So 3 eggs for 48 cookies. How many dozen cookies could you make with a dozen eggs? So if 3 eggs make 4 dozen, I guess we're not using 48 because we're answering a dozen. If 3 eggs makes 4 dozen, then that means 12 eggs makes, let's figure this out. Let's just cross multiply. 12 times 4 is 48. 48 divided by 3 is 16. That's not right. Oh yeah, 16 dozen eggs. 16 dozen. 16 dozen. How many eggs would you need to make 18 dozen cookies? Well, if 3 eggs makes 4 dozen cookies, how many eggs does it take to make 18 dozen cookies? Cross multiply and divide by 4 this time. 13.5. You need 13 and a half eggs to make 18 dozen cookies. All right, last problem I'm going to do. You do the rest. The glacier in Greenland, reputed to be the fastest in the world, has sped up lately. The last accurate measurements have it traveling at 5.25 kilometers in a 5-month period. 5 months. Okay, that's our rate. At this rate, how far does it travel in a year? So I want to know how far it travels in 12 months. Okay, if it travels that far in 5 months, how far does it travel in 12 months? There's my proportion. Cross multiply, my answer will be in kilometers, because I did kilometers per month. So kilometers per month. Cross multiply, 12 times 5.25, divided by 5, get 12.6 kilometers. There we have it. All right, you guys do the rest. Enjoy. Sorry I had to miss it.